advice warning. The content presented in this presentation is intended for informational purposes only and provides general advice only. It does not take into account your personal objectives, financial situation, or specific needs. This information should not be the sole resource when making investment decisions. We strongly recommend you seek the advice of a financial professional. Hey there, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of Bulls vs. Bears, episode 91. Tesla is not a car company, in brackets, in future. As Elon and Tesla had their earnings this week, which was still about a car company, but increasingly looking not like in future. But welcome, JT. How are you, mate?
Oh, I'm good, and welcome everybody. A very volatile week and we are in the middle of earnings in the US. So busy week all around.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's sort of busy, but without going anywhere.
Oh, really?
So, but yeah,
I would have thought the moves in gold were enough. But
yeah, well, that's exactly
that
right.
was a whole 3 days ago. I think that's why it feels like an eternity ago.
Yeah, Trump's got a new sort of dramedy going on every 3 days. So I think he's cancelled the meeting with Z. He's back on, or he's announced that it's fine. He's backpedaled. It's been back on, and then he's talked tough on China, and then now they're having their side meeting.
Well, I just
go to South Korea next week.
Just saw a headline, and it says Trump says Z doesn't want to invade Taiwan. So I don't know if he's putting words in Z's mouth, but that's the headline I just saw as I was basically heating up my lunch in the main.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's like things that you don't need to say overall. But I mean, our market pretty flat. I think we're up today. Yeah.
Yeah, well, but just I just want to say a few things. So the ASX actually made a new high this week, and then that new closing high, and then pulled back, and we're back, but we're still well above the 9,000 level. And basically, it looks like the US wants to break out, but it hasn't broken out just yet as well. So, and Nikkei, Kospi, all at new highs. And Hang Seng, China, Singapore, they're kind of lagging at the moment. So, overall, for the Bears, October hasn't become a disastrous month, and we're heading into the last week of October next week. So far, the Bulls are in control.
So, I mean, look, in terms of there being seasonal weakness, I think we've got like a El Nino on our hands where we're just getting unseasonal strength overall. So, it's not I mean, this week really, towards the end of the week, this morning I was sitting here and, young Finn gets in early as well with me, and I turned around and I almost had to get him to check that. I thought I'd brought up yesterday's, stock market today. It was so similar. And I'm just sitting there going, oh, geez, I don't know where investing.com hasn't got this thing up. And then, no, it turned out to be the correct one. But, nothing had really, because basically Trump had a press conference after I'd written the morning, or as I was writing the morning report yesterday. And essentially he'd made all these announcements and it was talking about Netflix earnings, and it was talking about, all these things that I'd written about in the report yesterday. And that was all but it was fresh optimism on China. And I'm like, well, hang on, that was yesterday. So, this is something we normally just have the US up, but I thought I'd bring the Aussie up.
Is this for the week?
It's for the week, yes.
Okay,
correct.
yeah. So obviously all the gold miners in the red.
Yeah, Evolution. I mean, Northern Star did okay. Newmont as well, but I mean, Newmont's just been on fire. I mean, if you probably did a month, it's still probably up 35%.
Well, I actually was on, because you guys were visiting, having a lazy couple of days in Byron.
Yeah, super lazy.
Yeah, I had the last call on the Wednesday, and that was the day that gold had its biggest drop in 12 years. Now, the thing is, I zoomed out and I actually looked at the gold chart for the year. So in the first, call it 4 months, gold actually rallied close to 30%. Then it went sideways for a good 5 months. And then in the last 7 weeks, actually put on close to 30% again. And that was before the pullback. So, but the thing was, when people said, "Oh, it's pulled back and it's crashed," it's still higher than where it was maybe, even 2 weeks ago. We're still trading. I mean, gold did get up to 4,300, then it pulled back and tested 4,000. And I'm talking spot gold here, but it's back at 4,100. A lot of the gold miners, even though they pulled back from their highs from earlier on in the week, they're still very much elevated levels if you zoom out.
Oh yeah, no, there was some because the gold haters who have been calling the top for 6 weeks now and are about 30% out of the money. I was like, once they got their result and it was down, it's like, oh yeah, smash 12 years, blah blah blah, and I brought to their attention that it was down 1.2% for the week, or for the last 5 trading sessions. So, when you got to obviously you got to get a little bit of perspective. At this point as well,
and I do want to say that on Thursday morning, someone sent me a photo from outside ABC. It was like a fresh photo. I had to double check, and the lines were still there. So even though gold pulled back, I see that the people are still lining up to buy. So they're seeing it as an opportunity. So basically, if you were in the slow lane, basically if you just stayed there and didn't get served on the Wednesday and had to wait till Thursday, you actually were better off.
Yeah, exactly. And when I was at Jaggards the other week, and that was probably towards the end, and we're going to go and record that little bit of content with these guys, hopefully next week, because we had a really busy week this week. They look, the phone just didn't stop, and they had their sort of smallish office, and you couldn't really line up out the door. But you came out of the lift, and it was just like I grew up in a cattle farm. Like it was like when the cattles are all crushed in the race. I got some dirty looks when I got pulled through. Like he goes, "Oh, Mark, come through," and it was like there was some people there that looked at me like, "I'm going to stab you." They'd obviously been waiting for a while.
No, I want that gold. I want that gold.
Yeah,
I want those silver coins.
They must have thought I was such a big swinger. I'm like, yeah. The velvet rope almost got taken fast. But yeah, no, this.
Sorry, I was interrupting you, but
no, I was just going to say they're getting a bigger premises, so and expanded vault capacity for obvious reasons.
Nice. And I also was there was an IMARC mining conference this week, so I got to.
Oh, we should have put you. I'll see if I can slide that in towards the end. You in front of the big truck.
Yeah, and I'll explain the model of that truck and the significance of it later on. But got to chat to a few good CEOs of some companies and actually learned a little bit more information about some of the newer mining technology, especially the controlled drillers, the underground, because there's more electric vehicles out there. So underground mining is a lot more safer than it was back when you had to have a canary in the coal mine, basically, just to check the air quality. But yeah,
I think they've got sensors for that these days. No canaries were hurt in the production of this EV battery.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it was a great thing, and like obviously, I've got a few good recs out of it, and I shall be releasing those over the next few weeks. But you have to be a subscriber to get those.
Yes, absolutely, you do. And which is incredibly easier now that we've got Mosaic as well. So
our
new platform went live. And for those who listen to the podcast and who've been listening to it for ages, if you want to subscribe, just mention our names and say that JT sent you, and we'll be we'll give you a month's free trial of the recommendations too. So
yeah, exactly.
So
I'll just go back to the ASX. So I just want to, in terms of highlights.
Yeah, sure.
So one company that has surprised me this week is Silex. So even though Silex usually runs along side by side with the uranium producers and miners. But for some reason, while Paladin, Boss Energy, even NextGen have all pulled back, Silex continues to make new highs. So I haven't looked at the actual announcements, but I'm guessing that their space laser technology for uranium enrichment must be coming very close to production or somewhere along those lines, because that stock just had it's on its own course now. So that's the one I want to highlight.
They've found a new generation of people to sucker in, because I think that technology is something like 25 years they've been working on that. It's been coming next year for 25 years.
Well, maybe next year's come.
Maybe this year's the year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, either way, the stock price has risen nicely. And one thing I would like to say is Hub24. So Hub24 had record inflows for this last quarter. I mean, I've got the numbers here. They announced 5.2 billion in inflows for Q1. So from July till September, which is 28% higher than the same time last year. So that kind of tells me that we talked about passive inflows and the minus green robot. That tells me that that flow is still healthy. So while I remember you were talking about being alert but not alarmed. Underlying, there's still money flowing into this market. So yeah,
Man, it has to by law. So
exactly. So while this, we keep saying the stock market isn't the economy. The economy is showing signs of weakness, especially in the US, and in terms of consumer finance and some of the numbers. If money keeps flowing into the market, as the crypto guys say, number has to go higher or number go up. So that's my highlights for the ASX.
Fair enough. I mean, yes, we were in Byron, and as my wife seems to point out, she thinks that when we go to Byron, that I'm just swanning around the beach, but we just happen to have quite a few clients up in that area. Not so many. We got probably more 3 times the amount up there, and then probably 3 times the amount in Canberra than we do in Sydney, and then in regional areas. So we're the real blue collar broker. Just speaking of blue collar, there we go. I managed to get your picture
there
in there,
is.
mate.
Okay, so
and JT is small, but that is a big truck. So
okay, but I would like to highlight. So this is actually an electric truck. So this dump truck is for underground mining. Okay.
Yep.
So it carries 60 tons at its maximum capacity. So those big, large Cat and Komatsu trucks that you see, that are the main ones, they carry 360 tons. This one carries 60. So that's the difference there.
Jeez. So 6 times that bucket.
Yeah, that's all. 6 times in weight. So in terms of like size, I'm not too sure if it's 6 times the size, but in terms of weight carrying capacity, the bigger trucks can carry 6 times as much bulk and weight. Even though, one thing that I did also learn is, we've talked about Austin Engineering in the past. It caught up with some of their competitors in the dump truck sort of tray body business, and while I thought Austin Engineering had some sort of, I wouldn't call it a monopoly, but I thought they had some sort of edge in that space. There are competitors in that space, and they're well funded as well. So yeah, it's good
to. If you see this little groovy bit here.
Mm-hmm.
So my dad's a boilermaker, a welder. For those who don't know what a boilermaker is, that reinforcement on that bucket there increases the life by like infinite amounts. Not infinite, but a lot, because those buckets are bloody expensive, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, essentially in his retirement, that's for things, tractors with buckets or excavators and things like that. He does quite a lot of it where he reinforces these bits and pieces, and you're getting 6 or 7 times the use out of them overall. He particularly fell into the good fortune that some bloke, obviously somewhere in New South Wales, bought a container load of cheap cheap tractor buckets, like those
Yep.
the things that diggers that dig up. And they were so poorly made, the Chinese actually put the steel on the outside. So basically, every time they dug in, the steel would just buckle straight off.
Uh-huh.
But the bloke had sold but they were so cheap, and the bloke sold like 20 of them through New South Wales. And one by one, they've all just ended up in my dad's shed, and he's had to fix every single one of them and put the, so you've got to be careful where you, cheap is not always good, as we found out. We found out with a couple of the Temu cables that we bought in the office and things like that. So sometimes the Chinese you might get it for $3 or a third of the price, but it's certainly that element of Chinese manufacturing that is low quality still exists.
Well, it's that phrase. In general, you get what you pay for. Like the market is fairly smart at sniffing out the value of things. So yeah, in general, you get what you pay for.
I think there's an Instagram account that actually has, it's like Temu, what I ordered and what I got, and they're like all these sort of funny things, and some of them are pretty bad. But yeah, so US stocks. God knows why Apple's up, because they just seem to always go up. I think that's like the US's CBA, basically. No one knows why it's there, but it is.
No. I've been listening as to why. So when Google won their antitrust, one of the conditions was Google was actually paying Apple $20 billion a year to not go into search. And that was, and because they won that case, those payments were legitimate. Now, the thing is, 20 billion is, I think, something like is 20% of Apple's revenue. And then when that judgment got reversed, basically Apple's bottom line just increased by 20%. Like, people were worried about that actual line on their P&L that got approved, and then obviously that's why Apple's at fresh new highs.
Well, I mean, that was a while ago, though, that antitrust.
Yeah, but it's all about that 20 billion on their balance sheets. That's, I mean, like as you said, it was maybe a couple of weeks back, but I think the market's kind of just slowly filtered in that, hey, there's an extra 20 billion in bottom line that's going to go straight to their P&L.
Well,
that's why
on the flip side, I mean, and look, the market's been reacting positively to super old news stories all week, actually. But in certain things, like they basically canned a whole new line of things they spent billions of dollars on. The Apple Air phone, they basically told the manufacturers that there is zero interest in it and cease and desist. So that joins the garbage bin of the Apple Car, the Apple TV. They've decided they're cancelling all plans for foldable phones. Just going back to new processor, new camera, and rinse and repeat, I think. That was why I was surprised, is that, I mean, that 20 billion aside, there's been bad news for Apple this week, and it just seems to keep on trucking. And even Amazon, for instance, Amazon took down half the internet this week. Like literally half the internet this week, and was up 1% on the day.
Well, I made my I made my morning podcast debut, and I had to scratch together something on Canva.
Well, and Canva was with them as well, but they just managed to get up quicker. But Riverside, which we record on now, yeah, no, they were down for ages. Like, yeah, it's just amazing that, I mean, like I said. Everyone knows my feelings on Apple. I think it's the next BlackBerry or the next Kodak. But like this, it's not, the market's not just climbing the wall of worry. It's like just stepping over it now. It's just like, it doesn't matter what Trump says. It doesn't matter what we were concerned about a trade. Trump literally called it a trade war this week. Might have been Sunday night. We were down for one day, and then it was just like, yep, all good. Earnings so far have been pretty disappointing. Netflix had earnings. They're having a spat with the Brazilian government about some tax thing. I had them on the call this week. It was stock of the day when I did the US version of the call, and I had Caterpillar as well, actually. I was really impressed. So now your mobile phone can be your controller. So so your TV effectively becomes your gaming console. And between Xbox and the Nintendo Switch, 230 million units of gaming consoles got shipped last year, and Netflix is delivering it for $14.95 a month, and all their streaming content in your hand, So, and then they're doing a deal with Spotify as well, and then to bring podcasts onto it in an effort for them both to start competing with YouTube. So I really largely, the headline numbers for Netflix were disappointing on the top line, but I quite like it. Moving forward, I think that, like Sony back in the day, the reason they did the PlayStation and sold the PlayStation at a loss, PlayStation 2 and 3, was they wanted to be the entertainment hub of the home, essentially, and then everything ran off it. And they're probably just a little bit too early. So the concept is not a new concept. However, I think the plan is, that obviously would refine a little bit, and try to move it forward. But I think that, because I'm just thinking about my kids, if they've got a game saved on Netflix, mate, do you reckon they're going to let me cancel Netflix if there's nothing coming out this month? Like that, it just increases that stickiness. It'd be a mutiny. They'd kill me. So, like, I really do think, and then obviously if you get your podcast through it as well, and Spotify's included, then it's one subscription. I mean, then maybe you don't use Apple Music, or maybe you don't use Amazon Music, or whatever, like, or Audible or whatever. So I think it's like it's giving people a reason to not cancel, and their advertising revenue is going very well, but their net margins over the last 8 quarters, it's gone from 17 to something like 36%. It just they keep making more and more money. So I was really impressed.
I did remember when they were, because everyone used to share a Netflix login, and we're talking people in different countries used to share a login.
Yeah.
And then now they've obviously tracked IPs now, and I remember when they started doing that, the share price just started climbing, and yeah, it'll be interesting because it's.
But the ads thing particularly has been massive. So I think that's where they're increasing their margin, because some people pay the smaller amount, but obviously they're getting really, there must be great margin, but any business that not only has control of their margins, but has enough control that they can continue to, incrementally increase them over time, is always a really good business. I'm just trying at the moment, as we speak, to get up the little chart for us, because I've worked out a little cheat here for this, to be able to do this. But Tesla as well, they basically had record volumes of cars sold. Everyone just dismissed that, and essentially said, well, that's just the American, everyone's worried about the tax credit going. That's just not going to, that won't be sustainable in Europe, because everyone in Europe's turned really hard on Elon, quite badly. They were burning, or trying to burn, bloody Teslas in the street and stuff like that. EV sales are up 20% over there, but European sales of Tesla was down 20%. But the sales are up in China. Record free cash flow. Like, they're expecting 1.3 billion in free cash flow, and they got nearly 4 billion. So yeah, they're 1 quarter equaled BYD's cash flow, because they're I think one of the really big things was particularly was the energy business. Just out of nowhere, just their rev went up by $1 billion in 1 quarter. So that's all their, the batteries and stuff. So I managed to get that Netflix thing there. See their gross margins there and their operating margins. They've just managed to find a way continuously to, as well as volumes going up, to get that get that margin trend up, which is obviously is outstanding. And that's essentially what you want from any business, really, isn't it? Like if you can increase margins, then and make more money with exactly the same thing, you're doing very well.
Yeah, but so I'm just thinking of that chart though. So then obviously, obviously, so when they're increasing margins and increasing volumes, someone, I wouldn't call them suffering, but someone's not making as much money. So I think the content producers are just getting less and less of the pie.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Obviously Netflix
potentially
having that that sort of size and just being able to, as an example, they didn't actually make K-pop Demon Hunters. They actually bought it off Sony, and that's one of their
Yeah,
biggest.
right.
Yeah. So Sony Studios, I forget where they funded the whole thing, and then rather than distribute it, they just sold it to Netflix, and Netflix like,
Yeah,
okay,
okay.
we'll take it on, and so they paid a fixed price to produce for the rights of it, and then it's exploded, and as I said, so they
Poor
paid
old
less.
Sony.
Yeah, exactly. So they paid less for the content, but obviously with with streaming, it's just how many times do people just spend on the
The
platform or
strength of the Netflix algorithm, like being able to like push some stuff down your throat. My suggestion's always a nightmare because my youngest girl just uses my account, even though I've set her up her own profile. So mine might be like, some action movie or something, and then the next one's like, K-pop Demon Hunters is the next suggestion. So I'm just like, I'm not going to explain to a 10-year-old, you're screwing my algorithm. I want to get better suggested TV. So I've got to sift through, and it does now feed me a lot of that Korean dub stuff. I sort of go, I've never heard of that movie. That looks really great. Then you get on, and it's like I kind of can't handle the dubbing sometimes. But yeah, see, this is the Tesla income statement. So every single section was up in terms of in terms of revenue, but particularly that up 44% in the energy generation and storage was really significant. Regulatory credits is only 0.4, so I don't think Elon really gives a crap about you having his things taken away. But yeah, they had record sales and record volumes. I mean, I don't think they're particularly worried. But then he did speak about, and he released a video this week around that Tesla's not going to be a car company. It'll be 10% or less of the business within the next 10 years, and that he believes that Optimus will be the biggest thing, and the self-driving taxis. And I think I'm not as big a believer as Elon is in the bots, but I just think those cyber cabs are just going to change transport in the world, and the car industry could get gutted out of this, because I just don't think, why would you just make, if you can get public transport will be a lot more empty, if you can get cheap, because they're like about a third of the price of getting an Uber with an Uber driver. You kind of think when we had taxis, like, so Uber was a price reduction then, and then this is going to do it at another 50 or 60% off. So he's quite bullish on. I'm quite bullish on that part of the market. I think that'll move the needle the quickest. But he reckons that everyone's just going to have a robot. Maybe that's the case. I don't know, but he's bought 600. The rumors are floating around. He bought $680 million worth of parts for 180,000 robots that will build, and then they go into full production for the Cybercab in Q2 next year and Q3 for Optimus. So this bit will be in 5 years' time will look like this little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So probably not that small, but small enough.
Well, I mean, like the way I see it, like if his vision comes true, basically all cities around the world will just change. Like I know Sydney's not the most congested in terms of world traffic, but imagine everyone's just sitting in the car, but because every car talks to each other and can flow at the same pace rather than that sort of knee-jerk reaction. Like everyone gets to work, even 20% faster, and they don't have to drive.
But you can, they don't have a steering wheel or pedals. You get in, there's a big screen. You can, you basically straight up link your phone to it, and it's like it's pretty much a PC in the car. They look pretty amazing. Anyway,
Well, people, you know how we have that work from home. People would just be working from car, basically.
Yeah, work from car. Yeah,
they'll
that's
just stay
exactly
around.
right. And there is rumours that some of them may come with with an Optimus to do Uber Eats deliveries. So, like, you can buy, it's like I don't know whether he tucks himself into a ball and gets in the boot or something when you want to use it yourself. I don't know, but yeah, no, there's some pretty freaky stuff. So, yeah, massive week of earnings next week. United Health, which was the biggest healthcare company in the world, and then it wasn't, and then it's kind of recovering a little bit now. I don't think they could possibly release a worse, like last earnings. So 2 earnings ago, they refused to give guidance because their staff were getting subpoenaed by the Department of Justice, and 3 earnings ago, the bloke that ran the insurance thing got assassinated in front of a hotel, and like it is seriously home and away sort of style stuff. And then they resumed guidance last earnings, and then missed their own guidance, which is just insanely stupid. And then Warren Buffett's bought in now. I'd probably everyone to be a little bit fingers crossed. I wouldn't put in the whole hog here at the moment because Warren's time frame is a fair bit more patient than most of us. So I've sort of been saying, we like it, but I've just been saying put a small bit in, because if it goes back up, it's going to go. It's down. It was down like 60% at some stage this year.
Yeah, I know Warren is a longer term sort of buy and hold guy, but he does have good timing, so it'll be interesting to see how it goes. I'm tipping it does well, and then rest of the week.
But he's great at buying. He's great at buying, like in the banking crisis and stuff like that. Like when he decides to buy in something that's just been an absolute shit show for a long period of time, that is nearly always been the bottom, and from what I can gather. Mind you, I don't follow his portfolio with a fine tooth comb, but yeah, I should change my name to Warren Buffett, and then we'll make our recommendations better. We'll just because then we can say Warren Buffett.
Well, you can't be Warren Buffett because Warren Buffett actually is long Apple.
Yeah, no, that's no.
That's where
I
you
don't want to be one. I don't want to be. Yeah, you should get out of them. Anyway,
for the Mag 7 rest of the week. Yeah, so big week.
Microsoft and Meta, Cat should be interesting. Apple and Amazon. So the only one. So we've had Netflix and Tesla. Nvidia's in a couple of weeks. Who are we missing? Amazon. Oh no, it's there. So we're basically done and dusted for them. For what is 50% of the market cap of the US stock market. So that's pretty quick actually. No US figures still. There's some Chinese GDP, RBA assistant governor. There's rumours that they're going to release a CPI this week. I'm not entirely sure who's going to release it. Trump just might release it himself. So who knows?
He'll just go there. There's no inflation.
Yeah, there's no. He loves to quote how eggs have come down in price since he came into power. So maybe he'll release his own version of CPI. I would not put it past him. A couple of the healthcare names, but no, look, that'll be the big show. Everything else, Eli Lilly and Merck might be kind of interesting, and then you got some of the oil companies at the end of the week. But Intel, I think there'll be a lot of disappointed Intel people this week because they're no matter how much interest the government and investors have now taken in them, they are still like the simple cousin of all of their peers. So I think that everyone will be like, yeah, the government's backing them, and then they're going to actually have to file through their first earnings report from Intel and go, oh my God, what have we done? Because they have been terrible for ages. Even though AMD's up 45% this month, I'd still rather own AMD than Intel. But just a quick one with credit spread watch. Hope, fingers crossed, we only have to do this for a few months, and then it all goes away. but we did have another subprime lender fall over this week. And concerningly, the Bank of England governor basically, and for the head of a central bank to come out and warn on private credit worries me. Like, loudmouths like myself, like, we can talk about it all we want, blah, blah, blah. But when but when you're a central bank governor or central bank chair, and you're saying that, like, even Jamie Dimon can mouth off about it all he likes, but that's not good because those guys essentially shouldn't mention it, because if they mention it, we're basically still around this 1.8 region here. We have been to this next green bar here when First Brands fell over, but there's a lot more talk about it this week, and there's just another one bites the dust. So, but mind you, before the GFC happened, like, five banks fell over before that thing fell over. So, it's something we've got to be wary of, but nothing until the music stops. There's nothing to panic about, and I think the lack of transparency in the private credit industry will probably help it as well, because they might be able to hide a bunch of things before before there's actually any consequences. Mate, you take it away, JT. Commodities, FX.
Oh, I'll just go quickly. So gold made new record highs early in the week. Same with silver. And then, as I said, gold had its biggest fall in 12 years. And so, yeah, it's down for the week, but still higher than where it was, I say, a week and a half ago. Crude, on the back of some of the things Trump said about Putin, has jumped.
Okay.
And uranium has fallen off for the rest of the week, but overnight was actually a little bit higher. So
yeah, it was down nearly 17% for the week at one stage.
Yeah, and Bitcoin,
It got trolleyed. It's recovered like 5 or 6% in the last 2 days.
nice. And Bitcoin back at 110. So it did drop down to about 106 and looking kind of weak, but back at 110 and still steady above 100. So yeah, that's it for commodities and FX.
And if you want a little bit more of a insight into the crypto part, I mean, obviously JT loves it as well, but but Finn, who's just joined us, he's going to join Richard Nader for the Global Alpha podcast, or the Bulls versus Bears Global Alpha edition, which comes out on the Mondays. He's going to do a little section in there on. We'll just start with the majors in crypto. I don't know whether we can put our name to Fartcoin or anything just quite yet, but he's been very experienced, been doing crypto for a decade. And in the important areas like crypto fraud and all sorts of things, he's worked and researched and things like that. So he's going to do a little bit as part of the Global Alpha podcast on Monday. Because increasingly start to see bits and pieces more from us in that crypto space. Now we've got he's only in his late 20s, but to be honest, 10 years in crypto, you may as well be Warren Buffett, basically. That's in crypto years, he's like 110 years old. Because it's, it really has come around to, to very much acceptance. Whoa. That was a bit of a mistake there, but it's going to happen again now. But there's Elon, and that's trade of the week. But I was messing around on Grok. I didn't realise there was any sound involved with that. I don't know whether it came through to people, but yeah. Well, I think we hear it, but I don't know. I'm not sure. But either way, so that was made by Grok, basically, and I'm not going to touch it again because it nearly blew my ears out. But yeah, the new optimism, they reckon there's an AGM coming up on the 4th of November, I believe. And that's when they reckon the big, there's going to be Elon's big show, because he needs to get the shareholders to vote for his pay packet. So he's going to be really pitching the future.
And he actually, I saw one of his tweets. He complained that the passive funds actually own more than half of Tesla as well. So
Do they?
yeah,
There you go.
so he was complaining about the way that they vote automatically in a few things. He was just like, it's actually just a robot. Surprise, surprise. Yeah, like
Okay.
he's just saying that there's no actual rational decisions behind half of the shareholding in terms of votes. So yeah, I mean, like
Yeah, right.
he he wanted automation. He wanted the future, and this is part of it. So
Yeah, well, that's right. But that was just a simple prompt I chucked in, and it was like Elon doing a fist bump with an Optimus bull, and then it just made it into a video in like 7 seconds. So I mean, and that's Grok AI, which is now across every. Not only is worth 200 billion, but he's managed to polish a turd with Twitter there or with X. It's going to be across all of his platforms and share everything. So Starlink, the whole work. So it'll But yeah, we did buy Tesla previously, and we've seen it go up before. And but we're long term. I'm very happy to own it. So this is trade of the week essentially. We're a little bit distracted by my little gimmick there with the Grok image, but yeah, I think that that AGM. I've just fact checked myself. It's Thursday the 6th, and which is what it will be a couple of weeks away. So I'm pretty positive that he's going to come out. There'll be some showstopper moment, and and you can just tell on social media he's pushing stuff. So I think that'll be a pretty good one. As we said before, Mosaic, it's free. Sign up for a free trial. You can also there's a you can see in our socials. There's a place where you sign up. Just go and put in your details. Someone will give you a call, give you your login, and you can have Mosaic, all of our content, all of our podcasts, our recommendations obviously cost a bit extra, but the phone app's been pushed as well. Everything. So we're a real company. We're a SaaS business as we described it.
And shout out to Kai Chen for putting in the hard yards, getting that off the ground and into our hands.
Yes, when I say we, it's the royal we. What I really mean is Kai.
Yeah.
So fear and greed this week.
Bit of fear.
We were in extreme fear at one stage.
Was it extreme fear last week? Was it?
No. During the week,
Uh-huh.
Monday. It was like 3. Panicking. I'm not entirely sure why. It wasn't that big of a move, but not really anything major to talk of there.
I think that also just shows you how long the market is as well. It's like, anytime there's like a 1.5% to 2% pullback, if that's enough to get it to extreme fear, everyone's long.
Well, that's right. I mean, I suppose that's right. Like, I mean, even it's like in the gold market. Like, I mean, widen if you're going to go into extreme fear, widen your time frame, people. Like, I mean, we could dump 30% now, which would be, as much more than we dumped in COVID, and we would probably not be back at the April lows. So, like, I mean, this is well, it literally is the best 3-year rally since I've been in markets. And that's 1996. So and I think that was when I think it was the mid to late 90s where they came off 17% interest rates down to 3. And to be honest, should have had a 10-year rally there, which it did. I mean, when the cost of money drops from 17 to 3, that's genuinely a reason to be, to be buying. And look, AI is as well. Well, I'm a little bit concerned that there could be some, there could be some negative surprises. Tesla wasn't mad impressive. Neither was Netflix. We could see some negative surprises, and it certainly hasn't been a bumper season so far. But the analysts would have adjusted their forecast to make sure they get their 80% beats.
That's it. So for next week, what are you? So I'll start off with. I'll be bullish for next week. Last week of October, we could get a surprise, but I remember looking at the seasonalities. If there was a pullback, it's usually in the second and the third week of October. And since we're past that, I think will bounce into month end.
Well, I think you can kind of burn your seasonality handbook this year. I don't
Well,
think.
no. I mean, like you can burn it, especially for September, October, anyway. But
But I mean, but I think that then affects November and December's ability to rally. So,
Mhm.
I could be proven wrong. Don't worry about that. So yeah, look, I'm fairly agnostic. I wouldn't be. I think there'll be big movements in certain stocks. I don't know. I'm going to go bearish just because.
Okay, yeah. I was
Just,
about to
just,
say
just.
it. I was about to say this thing's called bulls versus bears, and you're gonna go
Yeah, no,
agnostic.
I'm not, and I'm not.
Well,
Like,
you can go
I'm.
one. You can go one star something, but you can't be one star agnostic.
No, I can't go agnostic. No. No, yeah, but it's more of a if I got a gun to my head, I mean, I'd probably be in cash, I suppose, which is that version of agnostic. But yeah, but the same way we're playing it here at NBC, like where I would not touch any stock in the banking sector just in case private credit blows up. But I'm pretty happy with the AI thematic seems to be proving like the proofs in the numbers. I like these themes for future technologies. Healthcare was cheap, but the rest of the market, I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole, because and particularly the banks. The banks are now sort of trading towards mid to time. I'm not talking Australian. I'm just talking the financial sector as a whole. Like that's where the epicenter of the fire is going to be if private credit blows up. So I'd just be, I just think it's silly to hold them at the moment because there's too many warning signs. But does it affect the Mag 7? It probably doesn't. I mean, it will on an index point of view for a short period of time, but it'll be a buying opportunity. So, but look, yeah, I'm going to go bearish on the back of the fact that I just think that there might be some revenue, but there might be some disappointments in the monetization of AI, and then this is now 2 quarters of trade uncertainty, etc. But I'm proven wrong before, so I certainly wouldn't be short. That's what I mean. I'd be more just positioning defensively. That pretty much wraps it up. So
Absolutely.
yeah, it's been a long one today, but it might, bucking around with those with the earnings thing. We'll have a bit of an earnings focus next week for the Mag 7 and see what happens. But mate, thank you very much, JT.
Thanks to all the listeners for tuning in.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in, people, and yeah, we'll chat again next week.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.